p.m. We have just our little details to take care of. First of all, silence your cell phones, please. And this meeting's being recorded, and we can have a roll call.
Yes. Kathy McCarthy.
Here.
John.
Oh yeah, John. Oh, he's taking care of business.
Okay.
Money.
Chris Nettles.
I'm here.
Darlene Warner. I am here. Jake Strickler.
Here.
Joe Schneider.
Here.
And Mel McMurray.
Here.
Awesome. We have a quorum.
Thanks. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our very short agenda of Cobb Area Council would call for an approval of the agenda and the minutes from last time.
So I move to approve last month's minutes. Second.
Okay. Motion by Chris and second by Mel.
Any further discussion?
That was for the minutes.
Yep. All right, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Everyone in the room gets to vote.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. It's unanimous. And then we have that was the minutes. Now we need to approve our agenda, which is really the agenda of the principal planner of the Community Development Department, which is our kickoff for the Cobb Area Plan development.
So move to approve the April 18th agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have an agenda, we have minutes, and now would be a time for short announcements for the good of the community. Go ahead, Mr. Stark. Do we need to?
26 campfire, bring your guitar, sing, no amplifiers, no microphones, sit in front of the fire, the front of you is hot, the back of you is cold, just like it used to be, sitting around the campfire fire. Where?
What time?
26, it goes from 5 until 10. We macaroni and cheese, garlic bread, bar open.
The red one. Yeah.
So here, right here. Oh, okay. Right here.
Right here at Little Red Schoolhouse.
Same time, same station. Thank you.
Yeah, let's get a microphone out there.
You said 5:30 to 10?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Okay, and any other announcements? Yes, another announcement, Magdalena.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reminding everybody that May 4th is National Wildfire Preparedness Day. We have a bunch of projects that 5 of our Firewise communities are undertaking, and we've got press releases out. So be in touch with your Firewise community, or if you want to start one, be in touch too, so we can tell you how to get it going.
Thank you. Any other short announcements? Yeah, you're not going to talk longer than 3 minutes.
The 27th, which is Saturday, is open house down at the South Lake County Fire Protection District. So come down there, enjoy the festivities. It's 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And then don't expect an extension on fire permits. So based on fire activity, we will be shutting down burning on May 1st. So that's it.
Another announcement, go ahead.
Cobb AlertNet radios will be available about May, newly programmed, the little radios for general usage.
And they should contact?
They should contact me or Darlene or anybody in Cobb AlertNet that they know. But cobbalertnet@gmail.com is the best way. cobbalertnet@gmail.
Thank you.
Okay, you have a hand raised on Zoom.
Go ahead, Zoom. I don't have any authority to call on anyone.
I just did.
Okay.
Hopefully they're talking.
Glenneth? Go ahead, it's Glenneth, it looks like.
Yeah, Glenneth had a typed
See
question.
them speak and ask them to unmute. So go ahead and tell them to unmute and speak.
So if you are on Zoom and you want to make your announcement, go ahead and unmute yourself. Is that Glenneth?
It's Glenneth.
Oh, there it is. It's Glenneth. Glenneth, go ahead. Well, Glenneth, I don't know, I'm going to text you, make sure it's not an audio issue. Otherwise,
You can put
you
it
can
on-
make another announcement later at the end.
Or I could put it
Oh,
on
you're,
now.
he breaks out the radio because that's how we operate. All right.
One, two,
Any other
one,
short
two,
announcements?
Glenneth. You could-
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Maria. Maria.
Thank you. Good evening. Mireya Turner, Director of Community Development. I had a mark. Oh, here it is. Okay, good. I want to welcome everybody tonight. We all really appreciate that you are giving of your evening time to share with us your input about what you love about Cobb, about what you'd like to see change in Cobb over the next 20 years. We have an ambitious schedule tonight, but I want to start with introductions and thanks. And let's see, Shannon over there is our Deputy Community Development Administrator. She's going to oversee the Zoom room. We're really excited we have Zoom today. We've been wanting it for all of our meetings, and this is meeting 7. And so far, I think we had it like maybe partially one time. So this is thrilling. But it may just get a little trickier with logistics. But the way we'll work it in is when we're gathering either at the question and answer period or reporting back from our small group sessions, we'll start with input in the room, and then we'll make sure we capture the Zoom room as well. We want to extend a lot of thanks to the Cobb Area Council for hosting us tonight during your meeting, and also to the Lions Club for letting us in the building. That was awesome. Thank you. Tonight, our AmeriCorps members are in teal. These are the ladies who will be leading the facilitation. We have 4 questions to get through, and they will help guide you through each question and scribble madly to capture all of your input on our, you'll see these poster board things where a lot of the words will be captured, but you'll also see an assortment of maps on your table. And if you need to sort of identify something and scribble something on that map, please have at it, because we're going to keep those too. And we're collecting every shred of input we can get tonight, including the surveys that I've seen a number of you doing this evening, in order to establish what the key issues are for the community of Cobb. That will help to guide us with the work that we're going to do in between this first meeting and then the next community workshop meeting, which is in the fall, where we focus on key issues and land use. So this intro is a great start, and we're really excited to hear everything that you're thinking. Additionally, I wanted to thank Thomas DeWalt, who is handling our technology over there, and Gilbert Rangel, who has been present at every meeting in case we needed on-site Spanish translation, which we keep hoping we're going to need. But basically, back to most of the thanks. Oh, also Supervisor Peiska, we really thank you for attending. It is always great to have policymakers actually hear when we're brainstorming, to hear it like at the grassroots level. So thank you for spending your time. This is her third meeting that we've dragged you to this week. Thank you. And I think, sorry if I'm not thinking of somebody. Shannon, you can wave at me if I'm missing something. All right. Let's start the slideshow, please. We'll go to slide number 4. Our overview of Lake County 2050. This is the name. Lake County 2050 is the title of the update of our general plan and all 8 of our local area plans. You can see on the map behind me how the whole county is sliced and diced into 8 sections. Each of those planning areas have their own local area plan. Historically, these local area plans, because they are expensive and intensive demand on resources to update, we didn't have a right time to get them done. And so the general plan deadline for getting it updated with the state was coming up. But we couldn't just do a general plan update without making sure that we had relative community-based vision planning documents first. And so we've decided to tackle it all at one time. So it's going to be fun, and you're going to have many ways that you can tell us exactly what you're thinking. Part of this project is also an environmental evaluation of the effects that this project, the update of all these documents, will have on the environment. That is going to result in a programmatic environmental impact report, or an EIR, and there will be plenty of ways for the public to have your input on that analysis as it goes forward. And additionally, it just happened to be that we were able to get funding for something else. We are adding the climate adaptation plan to this timeline as well. This is going to be very helpful because I know Cobb knows that climate has impacted our community significantly ever since 2015, if not earlier than that. And so I really think that the data that they're gathering right now regarding climate-related impacts and ways we can be resilient is going to resonate through a number of our communities, not just Cobb. Next slide, please. What is a general plan? No. How about slide 5? Perfect. What is a general plan? So, as I mentioned before, it's required by state law to be updated no later than every 20 years. It can be amended as needed, but it needs that complete overhaul every 20 years, and that's what we're doing right now. It guides land development decisions, and it ensures consistency with the community vision. The policies and what is valued and discussed in the general plan has to be consistent with each community's vision. And that's actually one of the cool things about doing all of these at the same time, is that people have asked me throughout the years, how do you weigh it in the general plan? What if it says this in the general plan, but it says that in the local area plan? If they're in conflict, it shows that one of them is outdated or inconsistent. And so that's the really cool part about if we survive this next 3 years of doing this project, is that we're going to end up with multiple documents that reflect mostly the community vision, and then we're just filling in the rest of the county-wide elements and things that are also mandated by state law in the general plan. And so they're going to have equal weight. It won't be general plan, area plan. It'll be general plan, area plan. Next slide, please. Yes, sir. Yes, thank you. We do have a Q&A period after this, and we'll be happy to take questions at that time. Components of a general plan. So on the left side, you'll see the topics that are required by law. Land use, which is usually the meatiest part of the general plan. Open space, circulation, which includes our transportation plans. Housing, which you'll notice has an asterisk that I'll cover in a second. Conservation, safety, noise, and a new one, which is environmental justice, which we'll cover in another slide in just a moment. And then on the other side are the optional elements. These are elements that the state does not require, but the jurisdiction considers so important that we create our own element rather than inserting this as a portion of a different element. And so in Lake County, that includes the Aggregate Resources Management Plan, which regulates how we withdraw or extract natural resources from our creeks and our quarries. The Agricultural Resources Plan, which I don't have to explain to you guys. Geothermal resources, again, don't have to explain that one here. And then public facilities and services, and water resources, which focuses mainly on Clear Lake. The two the two of those guys up there, Housing and Aggregate Resources Management Plan, are just called out because they're on a different timeline. So the housing element needs to be updated in 2027, which is after our anticipated certification of the general plan. The aggregate resources management plan doesn't actually have a deadline, and we're still working on securing funding. But as soon as we get that, we're moving forward with that one as well. Next slide, please. Thomas, thank you. Excellent. So I think I've covered most of this. It carries equal weight to the general plan, the local area plan does, but it's a community-specific planning document. So we're not going to talk about, the shoreline. We're not going to deal with Upper Lake. We're dealing with what does Cobb love? What do Cobb neighborhoods love about Cobb? What do we want to change? And that's it. That's our good stuff. It could also include, a local area plan also includes important data such as where do we want our community growth boundaries to go? And that informs the government on the next 20 years of possible infrastructure expansions, so municipal water and wastewater treatments, things like that. Also could include design guidelines. What do we want as far as an aesthetics character to our commercial development in Cobb? That kind of thing, that's possible, as well as up to 4 local areas of special study. So a possible area of special study that we've seen before is along the shoreline at the last area plan update there. We were right in the middle of redevelopment, and so the community identified a few areas that they wanted to sort of enhance commercial development to create sort of like a town center, so that it wasn't just, you're speeding right through Glen Haven, Lucerne, Nice, and you get to Upper Lake, and you don't really know where you were. So the last 20 years, we have not recognized that level of development. And so those special study areas may change with this update. The community might say, they might want to alter them, they might want to keep them, but those special study areas are a way to sort of take a micro look at inside the community to see if, to create special design guidelines, to create just special regulations and pay attention to something that we find unique. Next slide, please. Okay, so going back to making the local area plans the more robust documents, you'll see we'll start on the right-hand side and then we'll go left. On the right-hand side, you'll see what we plan to include in the local area plans. Land use, that's the big beefy one that tells us how we develop our properties. Circulation, how we're getting around safely. And it doesn't just include the roads, it also includes multimodal transportation. Open space conservation and recreation, kind of tells you what that is. Environmental justice issues will be housed in the local area plans. Public facilities and services, economic development, and then down there in that last line, special study areas, which are the community level policy and possibly some community design guidelines if the community wants it. Then on the left-hand side is all that other stuff. It's going to go countywide and will be in the general plan. Health and safety, noise, geothermal, agricultural resources, water resources, housing, and aggregate resources management plan. Those are all countywide topics. Next slide, please. All right, zooming into the land use map. This is what usually gets the most attention because it tells us what we can and can't develop. It also talks about things like density for residential development or lot coverage for commercial development. Also, after we finish with our land use maps and our Lake County 2050 project, we then launch into a comprehensive zoning map update, because the maps that are in our zoning code, which then regulate further in things like height restrictions of structures, setbacks, minimum parcel size for subdivisions or land subdivisions, those all get spelled out there, and those two must coincide. They must be consistent. Next slide, please. Environmental justice. Environmental justice, to summarize or to paraphrase, is the basic right of everyone to live, work, go to school, play, and worship in a clean and healthy environment. The state has recognized that low-income communities, communities of color, and tribal communities have experienced a combination of factors with the result that today these communities are struggling with both a disproportionate burden of pollution and health impacts, as well as a disproportionate social and economic disadvantages, such as poverty or housing instability. The communities that are facing these types of challenges are labeled as disadvantaged communities. And the state does have some formulas to help identify them, but they also allow each jurisdiction its leeway to also identify them as well. The focus of the environmental justice element is to improve the conditions in those identified disadvantaged communities. How do we do it? Next slide, please. So the bullet pointed list that you see behind me are the required criteria, but we can also add to it as jurisdictions. So reducing pollution exposure, this could be from industry or from traffic, cars and trucks. Public facilities, promoting those, could be as basic as sidewalks or streetlights, or it could be other things like flood control facilities. Promoting access to food. This is healthy, nutritious, affordable food. So it could include zoning for or land use designation for new grocery stores, or encouraging the development of additional farmers markets, or encouraging the existing stores that we have to offer more fresh food options. It could also include zoning for or land use designations for community gardens, things like that. All of these different ways to encourage easier access to healthy food. Safe and sanitary homes. So this could lead to what we already have as far as lead-based paint, that policy. It could also talk about asbestos, mold, things that are in the homes that could be threats to health. Pests, rodents. One thing that we don't usually think about is it could also be overcrowding. And when we have a housing shortage like we do now everywhere, what we see a lot of is you got your single family home, but you don't have your 2.5 people in it. You've got 9, you've got 12, because people are gathering together so that they can afford housing. That's overcrowding, and it's not ideal. So we can deal with those policies in something like a local area plan or a general plan. Promoting physical activity. So this could be, is it safe for biking and walking? Are we ensuring that neighborhoods have well-maintained parks? Do they have connections to open spaces, creeks, places where they can go and congregate, places where we can hike and get away from all the people we live with? You know, ways that we can go and be healthy outside. While we do improve these communities through our policy and our planning situation, we have to also ensure that we are mindful of the possibilities of gentrification and displacement of these communities, which has happened in the past. So as we move forward and engage these communities to be at the table, recognizing that it's not just that improving the communities are important, but rather that they need to be advising us as we move together as a team. That's how we're going to approach the environmental justice element. We're making policies that impact people's lives. And that's why one of the top priorities, if not the absolute top priority of Lake County 2050, is getting as much community engagement and input as we possibly can. Because we really can't have a community vision unless we have the input from the whole community. Next slide, please. How do general plan and local area plans affect you? We've kind of covered this already, especially in the land use. It's going to cover how people wake up and think, I want to build a skyrise over there on that parcel. General plan, it's going to affect you. Local area plan, definitely going to probably kill that dream. Where can I put a Trader Joe's? I'm hoping. Still hoping. So it also talks about ways that when people are coming in to do a new business and they want to do maybe a facade improvement, the design guidelines will help that future improvement to sort of all come together so we're all rowing the same way to achieve that aesthetic that the community wants. Also, as we're looking at the policies and the priorities, we need to think about, are we making development cost prohibitive? Are we making it so demanding that nobody's coming? Where's that balance? You know, we want to retain what we cherish, but we also want to continue to grow, and economic development benefits people. It can bring jobs where people can get to the jobs without having to commute forever. So we really don't want to be a bedroom community. We want to be a thriving community. I was on my soapbox for a second there, sorry. I'm back, okay. But it's important as we are thinking about our community in the future that we have walkable neighborhoods, that people can get to different things without always having to jump in the car and you know, drive down the highway. Next slide, please. I pretty much covered most of this. So cultural resources and historic resources, how we're going to preserve them, that's also part of this. Next slide, please. So here is our process. And it's coming. Oh, wait, last slide, please. I think we missed it.
Oh, you want that one back?
I want the table. Did I skip a through here? Oh, I did. I skipped a thingy. Never mind. Mine. Thanks. Okay, environmental impact review.
Oh, you want that one?
Yes, please. You were right. I was wrong. Perfect. Thank you. So again, we're going to analyze how all of these new policies, priorities, implementation plans, and objectives are going to impact the environment. There could be some impacts on the environment that are considered significant. There may be mitigation measures that we can then also analyze and disclose that will take those significant impacts down to less than significant. And those are legally defined terms that talk about level of impacts and with thresholds and things like that. So, like I said, it's very important to have public oversight and review of this document. We already had our scoping meeting, which is where we invite the whole public to come in and tell us if there's anything that you think that we haven't already written down on our list to cover. What do you want to make sure we're paying attention to as far as our analysis? We had that 2-hour session in the board chambers like a month or two ago with a 30-day following public period after that. So there will also be required by law a 45-day public review period of the draft EIR once it's finished, or once it's prepared, and before it goes to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. So we want to make sure that we're gathering your input. I know Paul's heard me say this a couple times already, but if you're having trouble sleeping, feel free to take a look at our EIR. It's going to have pictures. Just scan through the stuff till you find something you find interesting. And if you have a comment on it, go to lakecounty2050.org or to one of our scheduled community meetings and make sure we hear what you're thinking, because we really, really want to know. Next slide, please. All right, this is our process. It's a 3-year project. It started last fall. The countywide elements are already in progress, getting drafted, with our drafts being available anticipated this fall. Each local area plan will have 3 community workshops. This is our first one here for Cobb. The main job we have tonight is to gather your input regarding key issues. Those key issues then are going to inform the documents that we're going to place for your review at our second community meeting, which is anticipated this fall. Once we really get the community's input on what we're finding or what we're gleaning as the key issues and on land use, that's when the environmental impact report can really get going, because that's when we have sort of a general idea of what we're looking at and we can start analyzing it. Then the third meeting will be to discuss the draft local area plan. That is anticipated in spring of 2025. So this is an ambitious project. We are working like crazy behind the scenes, and just to get stuff so that you can tell us what you think about it. The EIR work starts after those draft local area plans are ready, and which we anticipate the spring of 2025. It's going to take a good year to do the draft EIR. So we'll have one available spring of 2026. Then the public review of the draft local area plans, the draft general plan, the countywide elements, and the environmental impact review start in spring of 2026. And we'll go, hopefully, this is our totally cool goal, is before review for Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors in noticed public hearings by the fall of 2026. So we're going to have spring to fall time where when you have insomnia, pick up a draft plan, read it through, or come to our meetings and help us to hone these so that they really reflect the community's vision. All right, next slide, please. Opportunities for community engagement. Local area plan community workshop. You are already here, and I'm very, very thankful that you're giving us your time. Stakeholder focus group meetings. These are going to be determined probably after we gleaned all the key issues from the local area plans. We'll know which areas we have to sort of take a little closer look at, and we're going to get some expertise around those. Those will be stakeholder meetings. The General Plan Advisory Committee meetings. There are 5 of those during our 3-year period. We've already had 1. Those are community meetings that are held in the board chambers on Zoom, and it's a great chance for you to jump in and have your input heard as these documents are progressing. And then the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors meeting. Also on our website, lakecounty2050.org, will be surveys, periodically, documents for review, meeting videos that you can catch up on, all kinds of stuff. There's you can click a link to put in any comments you have. Click a link if you want to get on our notification list. We promise we won't drown you in notifications, but it is a great way to get an e-blast of when we have an upcoming meeting. And then one thing that didn't make this slide because the board created it later is the local area plan advisory committees, LAPACs. Tammy back there is doing Havana. She's got the applications, and we will be happy to give you one. The local area plan advisory committees, or the LAPACs, we have 1 for each planning area. So we now have 8 new review bodies to help us with our project. We're going to try and keep the number of meetings for the LAPACs streamlined and coincide with the community workshops. But after this next community workshop where we really start getting down into the nitty-gritties about land use, community growth boundaries, do we want design guidelines? That's when I'm going to be able to determine how many more meetings the LAPACs may need, because that would be your job, is to really focus on get community input at meetings and really zoom in on community growth boundaries. What do we want, or design guidelines? Those items of particular interest in every local area plan. It's really important that we have participation at this local level going forward, because otherwise we're going to end up all the way at the draft stage and people are going to be like, well, I don't like this. This doesn't reflect our community. And then it's kind of late. So that's why we're starting early. But I promise we will only have as many LAPAC meetings as we need. We'll try to keep them hybrid. We'll try to keep them in the evening because we're all working. And make it as easy as possible for people to attend and participate. We'll be taking applications through the month of May and get it onto the first or second board meeting in June for the board to make appointments. Next slide, please. Wait, okay, well that'll work. So before we go to Q&A, just an overview of the small group discussions, which is this slide. Those are the 4 questions. 1, what do we really cherish about our community? 2, what are the challenges that we'd like to see changes? 3, land use map, which we have a few of them distributed at each table. Are we thinking that we might want to make some amendments to this? And we'll explain that further in our small group session. And then 2, or the last one, is this big map right here that shows the delineation of the Cobb area plan boundaries. Do we still feel that this reflects our community as it is today? Or do we feel that maybe these boundaries need to change? So those are the 4 questions that your facilitator will walk you through. And that being said, does anyone have any questions on this super speedy PowerPoint I just gave? Awesome. Shannon's got a microphone. Go ahead, Elliot.
Yeah, just how will the local areas be considered in the general plan elements, particularly significant ones like housing and geothermal for us? How will you get the local input into those countywide general plan elements?
Very good question. Exactly what you're doing tonight. Community input, community workshops, sending us your comments on the lakecounty2050.org website, and then reviewing the draft documents as they proceed. You, as a local area plan attendee, workshop attendee, you won't just be limited to the local area plan. You'll have full access to the countywide elements as well. And so we're not just looking for local input. Feel free to tell us what you think about any of it. We want it all. Next. Hey, Tom.
Maria, I hope you don't mind me saying this. I don't think there's any problem. You and I have known each other a little bit through your employment with the county, I think since you went to work there. And I will say, if anybody will do a good job, it's Maria.
Aw,
And then
thank
I'm
you.
sincere about that, but I would also say, it's from my awful opinion, with the Board of Supervisors, over the years, I have made very respectful presentations with video, documentation, research, and I think fair to say been ignored, insulted, verbally attacked, and taunted. So don't be surprised if that happens to you if you say something they don't like. So, and if anybody wants to put me on the agenda, I can give you a presentation. I could give you, actually, technically, I could give you a 50-hour presentation. We wouldn't need that. But anybody wants to challenge me, I will show you.
Thank you, Tom. And I think you're illustrating the point that we need input all along the process so that when we get to documents like our local area plans, we won't have people jumping up going, that doesn't reflect what I thought. You know, so that is why it's important that we capture everything. Make sure we're either writing it down, you scribble it on a map, you put it in the comments on the website page. We need your input this entire process. No, I know, but I kind of used it to sort of get back to my point. Thank you. All right, does anybody else have questions? Joanne?
Yeah, I'm wondering if our environmental justice element, is that something we're doing voluntarily, or have we been required by the state to do that?
It is an element required by the state. And so remember those bullet points of the things that were required? We can do additional bullet points. We can add other things that we're analyzing and trying to address. But yes, we do need to do an environmental justice element, and it has to cover those parts. Hi, Elliot.
Hi. Again, from what I understand, that the state allows us to create, as you pointed out, additional elements that are of significance to our county. Has there been consideration of given the kind of prominence in the county culture of attention to our relationship with our local tribal sovereign nations?
Thank you. Yes, there has been. Preservation of cultural resources is going to be included. We have a couple pathways of reaching out to the tribes that are mandated by law. It's SB 18 and AB 52, maybe? I don't know. Two different laws. As well as I am going to attend the group meeting of the environmental protection people of the different tribes, and the supervisors are trying to get us into maybe a council meeting where we just want to sit and listen, because we've been told that there are different communities that are not comfortable coming to these community workshops. No problem. Let me know where to go, and I'll just sit and listen. So we just really need to capture the input in a way that people are comfortable. Additionally, thank you for reminding me, the local area plan advisory council, committees also have, let's see, for shoreline, where did I put it? One moment. It's a 9-member committee. There is one spot for a tribal representative, one for an environmental representative, and then they get a little different depending on the community. So for the Cobb, that would be one member of the Cobb Area Council, one member of a business owner, and 5 at-large members, which is anybody who lives within the planning area boundaries. So again, tribal, environmental, Cobb Area Council, business owner, and 5 at large. Okay, we're doing Q&A. Anybody else?
Are there any questions in the Zoom room?
No questions in the Zoom.
No. Okay. Yeah, Jessica.
Can you tell us when the last Cobb area plan was completed? Second part of the question, is there a new requirement with the state to ensure that these plans are done every 20 years? And if not, can that be written into our plan for future purposes to ensure that it is done? And a priority.
Good. Thank you, Shannon.
I wish I had it, but Elliot had it, of course.
I was going to actually defer that one to Elliot because I knew he'd know. 89. It's a little outdated. And I think the idea of encouraging regular updates on a 10-year to 15-year or 20-year period is definitely something that could go in an area plan. I mean, in a general plan and an area plan.
And looking at the local advisory committee at that time, one name stands out prominently on it.
Yes, it is. Robert Stark. Yep. Thank you, Robert. Are there any more questions? If not, I'm going to hand it off to Shannon. Okay, great.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So, when the plans are amended, is a third party going to do it, or is it the county? And if it is a third party, will they be part of the future meetings?
We didn't talk about PlaceWorks.
Oh, I didn't even talk about PlaceWorks. So we brought on this awesome planning firm that is assisting us with the preparation of these documents. They were here last week in person, but our scope of work only covered 1 week, and we thought doing all 8 area plans in a single week was kind of mad. So we didn't do it that way, and that's why our staff, who watched the last 4 meetings last week, are now leading the meetings for this week. But yes, PlaceWorks is actually, I think our scope of work has them attending virtually for the second community meetings, but we have room to wiggle and figure things out as we go. Yeah. Good question. Thank you. Did I answer the whole question, or was it 2-part? Okay, good.
My question is, the last long-range plan was 1989, 35 years ago. Has anybody looked at that plan and evaluated, after all that effort, what of it was done? What percentage of that plan's layout was done?
That's a great question.
So that we can set, well, I come from town, and in town, we used to do things like this, and then everything would get set on the shelf. And I know it gets set on the shelf here in the country too. My point being, you're asking people to put in, not you, we are asking people to put in a great deal of time. And I think a lot of people should want to know, is our efforts going to get anything done? Now, I know everybody's going to say at the county level, oh, absolutely, we're going to work our butts off to make it happen. But what is our historic result? A friend of mine says the greatest predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So 35 years ago, we set up a plan. How did we do? Did we do any of it? And is that going to be an indicator of the future?
Great question. So that part, oh, Robert, do you have another question, or did you want to join in on that one?
I would just say that in 1989, we zoned every piece.
Otherwise, you can't.
I got you.
In 1989, we zoned every parcel in the area plan. There was no zoning. We created all the commercial, all the residential, all of the different types, all the SRs and the SCs and the CCs and the LMNOPs were all done by that group of between 15 and 21 people who attended those meetings.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so to get back to your question, Rich, no, I haven't done that tally yet, but I can have it ready for the second workshop. However, one of the things where that book does not stay on the shelf is for every discretionary permit that planning develops. Because in our staff report, we have to establish to the level that pleases the planning commissioner or the board of supervisors that this proposed project is consistent with the general plan and the local area plan. So in planning, that thing does not sit on a shelf. We use it all the time. However, I think that your question regarding implementation is totally valid, and I will Try to remember to write that down so that I can make sure that I get it to you by the next workshop. Be better if you sent me an email, but I'll try to write it down. Oh.
It's important to have those community objectives in the plan so that you can go after grants and the advisory councils can champion projects because they're in the plan. So everything in the plan may not come to fruition, but things that are not in the plan will have a much greater, will be much more difficult to implement if they're not in the plan.
Absolutely. So the way the grants, what the state grant funders are looking for now is that we're not just going willy-nilly off and asking for money that has nothing to do with anything. They want us to connect it to community visions. As well as ongoing projects. So what Supervisor Pyska, her point, which also should address partially, is sometimes these implementation plans are not done because we can't secure the funding for them. But if we have the objectives and those things in that plan, we have a much better chance at securing that grant award.
Is the 89 plan online? Can we review
it? It is.
It is, okay.
Yes. You want me to tell you how to get there? Okay.
Simply.
LakeCountyCA.gov. LakeCountyCA.gov is our county website. Go to the Community Development Department, then to Planning, then to Planning Documents. And that'll take you to all the area plans.
The one question I have is kind of a follow-up of the gentleman over there, is how much of the projected things that they had in that 35-year-old document actually were done?
That's exactly what his question was.
Is it?
I wrote it down.
Okay.
We got it.
I wasn't quite sure because I had a hard time hearing it.
Yep. I will find out. Anything else? Okay, so now we're getting to the really important part of this whole evening, the whole reason why you guys haven't had dinner yet. So we're going to hand it off to Shannon. Our facilitators are going to take each table. This looks like we have enough people to populate this table as well. And we're going to do 45 minutes of getting your input on those 4 questions. Thomas, could you go back to those 4 questions also in case anybody needs long distance referral? Cobb area council members, if you wouldn't mind dispersing yourself so that there is no majority of a Cobb member team, that'd be great.
I have one more clarifying question.
Yes,
When I think of this plan, I'm thinking more like guidelines versus goals, or is it a mix? I mean, what?
Both. Your design guidelines will definitely be guideline-ish.
Yeah.
However, there could be other areas, say your land use, where you want to encourage some sort of development. That would be more of an implementation and a goal. So it gives both. It describes the community's vision, talks about what we want to see, offers suggestions on ways to get there, and regulates some things. But the guidelines are mostly in the design guideline area. However, other stuff that comes up is, we want this, we don't want that, we like this land use, we don't like that land use. Those are all kind of guidelines, even if they're not objectives or plans or goals. Okay, this is good. Let's go.
Okay, we're going to break into these 4 groups. Each group will have 1 or 2 facilitators/scribe. At the end, we would like a community member to report back.
Like Hidden Valley, but you can still get some more housing up. It's a nice view and it's right off the road, so I think there's potential for that. And then our last point was outdoor recreation for everybody. And the last question, do you think changes are needed to the land area plan boundaries? We thought it should extend to Socrates Mine Road. That kind of gives a physical landmark for it. And also, I found out from Mr. Stark that the Cobb Area Water District services down Sigler Canyon, and that's actually not even in our Cobb area zoning, and that should be changed to anywhere that the Cobb area or we have a municipality that's servicing should be within our boundary.
Very good.
So.
Thank you.
All right, for this time, let's hold the easel up on one side and have the speaker on the end of that table.
And for the sake of time, if you guys could highlight things that were not said by the last group, that would be great.
Well, that's why I checked off everything that they said that we also had. Some things might bear repeating. So what do we like most about our region? Number one on the list, trees. The vacation vibes. And of course, these are new ideas. The slower way of life, the small schools, the wildlife, and things that we think should be preserved would be the visitors and the tourists to support our economy, and of course, our favorite coffee shop. Shops. Question 2, challenges. You just can't get rid of trees that have fallen or are dead or burned 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Need to be able to get rid of all of our green waste more easily. We have an aging infrastructure. The power goes out a lot, and then Mediacom or whatever, it goes out a lot, and then obviously our water needs a little bit of updating in some areas that we're learning. Broadband, healthcare access. You either got to make a trek down there, and no one's going to be able to come up here to help you out that much. That it's just too far away. We're hearing. If you're looking for like a senior helper or something. There's no clinic up here. Maybe a little clinic would be nice. Then we got real technical about the zip codes and the school districts and the water districts, and all these different borders should line up. There's no banks. There's less access to outside resources. Homeowners insurance is difficult to get. Some of our communities have one way in and one way out, and that's a safety hazard. There is no electric vehicle charger nearby. Also, just to reiterate, we need some paths on the sidewalks because you have to basically drive from one side of the community to the other. Yeah, I think that's good. We had a lot of ideas. Map changes or changes to plan map uses. It'd be good to get some zoning for some sort of green waste processing like a Quackenbush. Similarly, related a community garden or garden center or nursery. I wanted to point out about housing, something like high density housing or senior living, and addressing homelessness. Healthcare clinics again, dog parks, neighborhood parks, more neighborhood parks. We are very excited to have our new park coming in. But again, maybe something you don't have to drive to enjoy with your family. Some enhancements on our current community center, the building, and looking for biomass sustainability. We're gonna flip this. And good job, Dawn. She's doing a great job back there. And we also agreed that Siegler Springs should be included in the Cobb area as well as extending to Socrates. I forgot to check those off.
Excellent. I really like that one about the industrial zoning for the biochar and processing the wood. I'm glad that Greg was here tonight because I was hoping that that would get captured. Next table. Yes. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind also, Jessica, doing it at the end of the table, facing the camera would be awesome. Thanks.
And again, just highlighting what's not good.
I don't think you left anything. Assets, oh my gosh. What did we go over? It's pretty much, we included night dark sky, Kelsey Creek, more access to creek or walking around the creek when it is accessible to certain areas. Vacation homes, how we like that, how they're permanent. There's permanent housing up here, but also part-time housing up here, and communities around that like BG and Italian Village and Pine Grove. that we like our mountain forest community and would like it to remain in that vision. I think that everything else is pretty much preserving scenic roadways, scenic byways, all of that, and also extending that. So next, yeah. I'm glad we're not last. It's a lot to go through. Challenges, I'll just say it, road infrastructure, because it needs to be said every single time. Infrastructure in general, in terms of continuing to upgrade fire plans, ingress, egress, water, also our cellular reception up here, our internet connectivity up here, all of that needs to be improved substantially. Our power, obviously, that's, yeah, you'll hear that every single time too. Watershed management, food security, housing, all levels, economic levels, continued recovery from fires and such. Wow. Oh, the other part of continued recovery with the cleanup of the fires, also working with holding PG&E accountable for any time they take down trees, making sure they get all of it or have programs in place before they come and do it. We're still dealing with a lot of fuel on the ground because of that, and especially right on roadways. Collective community vision, pride. I think we can go to the next. Let's see, map changes. Wait, says, do you think changes needed in plan on land use? Okay, so light forest industry, you guys already mentioned that. There is an 80-acre planned development, a residential development that is on the maps that a lot of people don't know about. So looking at old things like that came in that nothing has happened with over the years, looking at whether or not to change those, or if they should be addressed. Elliot, am I on the right track with that? Okay. Continuing to develop along with the parks, planning in place. Thank you, Supervisor Pyska, for pushing that forward. But then also looking at community spaces, helping to make sure that the places that we do have are supported, funded, or resources for funding to continue that. Also looking at new spaces that would make sense, let's say near the park or whatnot. Let's see. Oh, as far as the park, having an element of like exercise and such in that, I don't know if it's in the plan or not, but I think that's, and then factoring and keeping in mind youth sports and activities. The school's been used throughout the years for that, and then that presents a huge impact on the school. As we grow in this area, we need to look and move forward with not having the school always be the one impacted by that. So next, I guess. Sorry, you can just roll it up and hit me over the head. This is a really funny one for me. I know this map and the boundary changes really well because of the development of the CAC. I am one of the people that did that. So I love hearing that the establishment down to Socrates, the establishment down all the way through Siegler Springs, because the water, those all make sense. Those were all the reasons we expanded those boundaries in the first place. So I'm happy to hear about that. I think that's it on that one.
Thank you.
Very good.
Get you guys up here.
Yeah, we had fun. Yeah.
Door number 2.
Do you want to start?
We
we agree with everything that everybody said. So we're going to skip to Oak Woodlands we like, Kildy Creek, Loch Lomond Firehouse, the Dark Skies, Boggs Lake and Boggs Forest, the sound of the helicopters during fire season.
Music to our ears.
Mountain High Coffee Shop keeps getting called out. Artists, the community events at the Italian Village, the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary, and actually we called out the spiritual centers that there's so many of here in this area. The community swimming pools. Cobb AlertNet was called out. The Firewise Communities was called out. The Friends of Bogs was called out. The Cobb Watershed Education and Restoration Program, Pine Grove, Whispering Pines, Adams Springs Pizza, Mountain Meadows, Harbin Hot Springs. These are the things that we like the most. Challenges, fire insurance came up. The response time for law enforcement came up as a big one. Roads, disease and forest, disposal of dead trees, high risk. Challenge, it's a challenge to keep the dark skies. Maintaining the Firewise communities is hard. The noise from cannabis operations. Growing cannabis in the designated areas. Community meeting spaces that don't carry noise. What is it say? Deteriorating or too small, so they need help. Earthquakes damaging homes. The community center has limited open hours because they don't have as much volunteers. The Loch Lomond School District, we want that to change to Middletown.
Yes.
Lack of education of the new residents and homeowners about the wildfire danger here and what they should be doing. Nothing for kids, activities.
Oh, code enforcement.
Code enforcement needs to be much more supported, more monitoring for drought conditions and drought plans to be enforced. The lighted, yeah.
A sign in front of the Cobb Mountain Elementary School, flashing whatever, 25 miles per hour, you know, like when kids are present. And then
a lighted crosswalk. We need that by the Cobb Mountain, you know,
gas
at the
station.
intersection, the T intersection.
Yeah.
Okay. And this one was, what is it? Oh, there's a bunch of them. New commercial enterprise, children's summer camps, outward bound type programs. No, there's no shuttle service to Sacramento Airport. There's an advantage to being last. You get to put in the last minute stuff. Map changes. More refined plans for commercial uses. So I know that, you know, there's like little cottage industry kinds of things that we need. No big box stores. We need a real campground. Acknowledge in the plan the significance of local participation in local governance. Take the time now to do deeper analysis and research on the complex systems dynamics of this community and spell this out in the area plan. Provide the research resources to identify key local metrics and monitor them ongoing. And we didn't come up with any. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have our last table, so no pressure, but we are running a little late.
So we've looked through everything, and the only thing that's left is there's no Trader Joe's up here. Yeah, there really isn't much more. The 5 mountains, the spring water, the forests, the springs, the resort feel, helpful neighbors and helping each other. Just when things do happen, it's just so wonderful to have up here. The Cobb Fest, Cobbler Fest, the events here at the Lions Club, and especially having the community service here when there has been challenges, to be able to have this space and to have the folks and the volunteers has been really wonderful. Our local grocery stores and all of that. The challenges that we see, more walkability, livable for those that are over 60, and a lot of those individual issues about that have already been talked about. but that walkability, possibly more dense housing to be able to meet those needs. More services, the Trader Joe's, it was there. The traffic on 175 and on Bottle Rock is way too fast around residential areas and around our resorts. I've complained numerous times to Caltrans, and some signs have been put up, but it's not. We need it to be really quiet in these areas here. And let's see. Our businesses need support, and I think we talked a lot about having more dense residential to be able to support our businesses. So the whole walkability, mixed use, all of that is right up there. Invasive species was a challenge that we had in. Yes, invasive species, yeah, definitely. What else have we got? Are these still our challenges? Yeah. Okay, great. The earthquakes, that was mentioned. More parks and places where people can come together. I think that whole vibe of having kind of a mountain resorty, feel to it, having those walkable like paths and trails that we can get to community spaces, I think that have already been talked about. And let's see, map changes. I think we just said we wanted it to the Socrates mine, and then kind of adopting the Cobb Area Council map that is already in place. Some of the changes, the lots are too small to make it easier to join and or split parcels, because that's pretty costly for folks, and then probably some of the rebuild has been challenged because of that. Access to top of Cobb Mountain. We think that would be, yeah, that one we got. Access, yeah, to get to the top of Cobb Mountain. The map, just making sure there's more density around the commercial areas, and careful consideration of ag versus residential, water usage, water rights, quality, noise, smell, and the like. And there's also concern about exporting our water for commercial gain, particularly through ag, right? When you export wine, you're exporting Lake County water. And let's see. Oh, there was an interesting idea to potentially attach a certain percentage of food production for local consumption to ag production itself, to commercial ag. So like if you have a vineyard, that maybe 2 to 5% of that needs to be edible food for local consumption. And displacement of wildlife, making sure that there's wildlife corridors and that migration paths can happen. And then, of course, dog-friendly. I'm not sure that goes on the map part, but making sure that we're a dog-friendly community, because tourists really appreciate being able to bring their dogs to those types of things. And then here's our map changes that we recommended, was to map, make sure that we've got Siegler Springs in there and all of that. So I think that's
excellent.
Thank you.
Well done, last table.
We had just a couple folks in the Zoom room that provided input, so I'll just tell you what was said in the Zoom room that was different than what was said in the rest of your groups. A couple of the things that were appreciated about Cobb was the development of lots of arts activities, and then access to recreation like golf, swimming. And then question 2, they said there are not enough homes here to support local business, the dead trees, of course, Black Rock struggling, and the need for continued cleanup post-fire. Question 3, the input we got was allowing small home land use, so just zoning for small homes, tiny homes. And then that was all the feedback that was in addition to what was already provided.
Excellent. All right. Well done, group. This has been a very fruitful evening. We have captured as much as we could in writing, as well as the scribbles on the maps. Next steps, we are going to take all of this information and churn it up, and we will have summaries of the different meetings available, not sure when, maybe in a couple weeks. And then all of those are going to inform us for key issues and land use possibilities that'll be the center of the second workshop this fall. Thank you for all that you have given us and given to your community this evening. And I ask that even if you're kind of maybe sort of interested, not sure, please take an application for the Local Area Plan Advisory Council. Your input, continued input would be most welcome and highly valued. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it back to the Cobb Area Council.
Okay, guys, one quick announcement that was made, or tried to be made at the beginning of the meeting. Gleneth is offering new clay classes starting for 6 weeks. Also, we meet on May 16th. Let Gleneth know if you're interested. We are adjourned. 8:13. That was a good one.